According to Rick Ching, Business Development Manager for Collins Aerospace Services and Support across the Asia Pacific, there are two key priorities for operators when it comes to military sustainment.
The first is really the ability to turn the asset around. In the shortest possible time, they want to have that aircraft in the air. They want to have the repaired equipment back so that they can have it back into service. For the case of this, repaired equipment, avionics equipment, the timeliness of getting this item repaired and certified and then back to service would be the greatest concern to the operator, because that would affect their mission success rate. The other area that they will probably look into is managing the fleet equipment obsolescence, which is usually a result of technological advancement or flight-related regulation requirements. And one of these challenges is kind of like how to get that asset, to be repaired timely, how to keep the aircraft to be ready to respond to an external threat. So one way to achieve this is by mitigating the potential risks or the threat, like turnaround time, as we mentioned earlier. And here in Collins, we design sustainment strategy to improve the asset accountability by reducing turnaround times on parts, by isolating no-fault file on site. So if the item has got non-fault file, it can always be returned back to the aircraft for service.
For Collins Aerospace, the critical goal is to support its customers so that they're thoroughly prepared and able to take immediate actions in response to an external threat. Performance-based logistics can support this ambition.
What happens is that as and when an equipment becomes non-serviceable, the customer have that equipment returned back to a Collins facilities, our service center, have that tear apart, evaluate, and then to fault find as to what failed in that box. At the end of the day, we will then disclose to the customer, this is what we have found out, and this is going to take so much man hour, so much material cost to get that repair done. Then this information feeds back to the customer, who then decide, okay, yes, I would want to go with the repair, or no, I think this is already, some of the terms we hear is like beyond economic repair, so BER. If an item becomes a BER, then they think that, okay, I'm better off buy a new one than to spend that same amount of money to fix the old one. So in that case, we will return the equipment as it is.
There is, of course, significant economic variation across nations in this region. Some lack the resources to build economies of scale or cannot secure direct access to American and European capabilities. Such countries must be selective, prioritizing certain aspects of their sustainment strategy.
There's a number of older legacy platforms that are still in services in the APAC today. Most of these aircraft has been flying for the last couple of decades. And generally, the option that are faced by them would be either the retirement of this aircraft or the upgrade to be able to cope up with air traffic compliances or technological advances, enhancement, as well as addressing obsolescence, like the round gauges that we used to fly with. I mean, those are now not as popular, and we move on to others like displays. So there's obsolescence there. There's also technological enhancement right there.
There's a strong trend towards in-country testing and repair capabilities. Let's turn to Rick Ching for more details.
Most operators actually see this as a benefit, especially for equipments that are critical to their mission. So they would like to have the ability to have this repaired locally and then turn that equipment around very quickly. So as not to incur additional expense of getting spares. Since it takes time to develop and to acquire, to deliver this capability to the customers, it is always good to consider this early on, especially during the life cycle analysis and planning phase. So, they need to kind of put this into plan and then how they want to go about doing this.
Companies such as Collins Aerospace pursue such arrangements through various options. These include its depot arrangements, where it builds collaborative relationships with military service depots to enhance avionics service support.
We do this in 3 different phases. So phase one is the assessment, then the activation, and final phase is sustainment. I'll just kind of give a little bit of a pointer on each. So under assessment phase, our engineers will perform assessment to determine the effort required to establish an intermediate or I level or depot D level repair capability at the operator's facility. So the point here is to really be able to assure the operators that the depot activation requirements, the schedule, the budgets are all provided to the operator for their consideration. Then once that is accepted by the operator, the activation phase at the end of that would then really be basically about depot assessing planning activity to transition from the OEM managed repair to an overall sustainment partnership together with the operators. So this would then involve the development of the test bench, the test equipment, as well as the necessary training, technical publications, and the tech data that are required. So this will need some time for us to apply for the appropriate export requirements in order to have this data being transferred to outside of the US. And finally, we will talk about sustainment. So this is about the ability to ensure the longer term product sustainment. That could be done through joint obsolescence management studies. That could be done through planning ahead and being able to have critical piece part available, especially for equipment that are towards the tail end of their life cycle. So this is something that we are seeing today in terms of the customer's desire to move towards having this indigenous capability, the ability to do this in their own country. And again, that is because it helps save time, which means that they can turn around the equipment, turn around their asset much faster.
Relationships between industry and the military are vital in Asia Pacific. Many of the unique challenges facing countries in the vast area can only be solved through collaboration. However, these nations are also keen to foster indigenous capability in sustainment, an area where industry support is also essential.
One aspect of being prepared is to turn the asset around in the shortest possible amount of time. And we are also seeing stronger desire from these operators to build in-country capabilities, as it not only helps to improve the repair turnaround time, it also strengthens their local defense capability. And as a result of all that, it gains higher degree of self-reliance at the end. So I say that, Collins, we kind of, we are the OEM. So we will be able to support such a desire for them to have this in-country capability, especially, like a depot stand-up. So being able to repair this on their own. And such kind of arrangement typically looks into the supply of test equipment, transfer of know-hows, training, publications, and other support elements like annual calibration of equipment, engineering support, technical support, and technical reach-back.
The operational requirement will naturally differ by customer. This will impact a range of factors, including cost.
Hence, also the sustainment goal will be slightly differing. And this will likely result in a different cost saving over time for, say, customer A. In some cases, they may find that this may not be financially feasible right now, and then maybe postponing this decision to a later time. Another way of looking at it is also dependent on the size of the fleet and the number of quantities of equipment that they are looking at repairing. But I do see the one common theme across all this is really about the operator's desire to be more self-reliant and having this necessary test equipment, test capabilities, resource, the repairs, and the skills to get this equipment repaired in country. And that sometimes outweigh the cost of owning or acquiring that equipment. So from that perspective, I'll see that these customers will value self-reliance. It's a very huge component in their decision-making process over just simply cost.
In episode 4, we'll take a deeper look at the digital technologies and open architectures, examining how such advances are impacting military sustainment. For now, let's turn to Rick Ching for some final thoughts on just how the sustainment model is evolving and the directions it could take in the years ahead.
If we look at the last decade or so, I think we can see that in the Asia Pacific region, there has been quite a substantial fair bit of fleet modernization and fleet upgrades happening. And the upgrades are mostly to the legacy platform that we mentioned, like the C-130, the Chinook, the UH-60s. So along with that, we also see this growing interest and the willingness to adopt PBL as a sustainment model. And the reason could be, and the reason is most likely because this brings, a better management of their life cycle process as compared to the other form of, say, time and material. So we see this movement towards PBL more willingly accepted across Asia Pacific. And again, I just want to touch that we, being the OEM, we can help ensure that you have the right solution for your mission set, and then we can be able to tailor the solution, the sustainment solution, according to your operational objective to provide you with increased availability, reliability, and affordability. So I think all this would help when we work jointly with the operators to help them move forward and to meet their fleet readiness goal.
Episode 3 of the Critical Care podcast is out now on shepherdmedia.com/news or wherever you get your podcasts.